Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee, and today I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up. This is everything that I read in the second half of the month. I have a mid-month wrap-up if you'd like to check that out. I will be excluding my HarperCollins titles that I read this month, so I will have those ready at a later date when the HarperCollins strike is over, hopefully soon. In total this month I finished 5 things. I read a total of 290 pages and 49.75 hours of audiobook. The majority of the things I read this month were audiobooks. The 3 things I'm going to talk about today, I have 1 DNF and 2 ebooks, so unfortunately I don't have anything to hold up for you, and I'm going to jump right in. The first thing I have here is my DNF. It's Guilty Pleasures by Laurell K. Hamilton. This is the first book in the Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, and for me this series is about Anita, who is a necromancer, and she works for a organization that is sort of a PI agency, sort of along the lines of that sort of industry. She gets jobs and kind of takes them and figures out what happened to people and what kind of tries to help people figure things out. At the beginning of the book, she is invited to a bridal shower, and things go a little bit awry, and she gets wrapped up in trying to investigate why vampires have been dying all over the city, even though she is not interested in helping vampires at all. She's more interested in killing them. For me, this book didn't work because I've tried to read it before and I was always intrigued by it. I thought it was interesting, but the deeper and deeper I got into this book, the less and less I liked Anita. So I just couldn't get on board with her. I found her so frustrating as a character, and I just found her too abrasive as a character for me to connect with, and I'm someone who I have to at least like my main character a little bit, and I didn't like her at all. And after a few chapters, I think I got almost to the halfway point in this, I looked it up on Goodreads and just kind of read through some of the reviews, and then I read through some of the reviews of the later books just to see kind of does it get better and stuff like that, and they were all very mixed, leaning towards not great. And I personally, I love paranormal romance series. I'm willing to give it, several books to get into things. I'm willing to give it a few books to find its feet. But for me, this seemed like it was going to be more like a 10-book commitment before I could really get into this, if I did at all. So I decided to DNF this and the series. Next up was The Old Woman with the Knife by Gyu Byung-mo, and this is a translated Korean work, and this was a book that my local bookstore picked as their book club pick for January. It's a pretty short read, and I thought that this was a really interesting pick by them. It's about a 65-year-old assassin. She is getting up there in years. She has been in the game a long time, and she has started to notice how her body is failing her a little bit on these very difficult and physically taxing jobs, and she is noticing that maybe there is a threat to her that is within the company she works for. So she has to try and figure out how she's gonna protect herself and what is gonna happen as she ages. This was a really interesting book. I actually didn't enjoy it that much, and for me a lot of it was for the storytelling style that this was. So for me, this one, I wasn't sure for a while why this didn't resonate with me, because the concept sounded really interesting, and I usually find the book club picks really interesting and good, and I think I finally figured it out that it's a compound problem. For me, I wanted to know more about literally everything in this book. I wanted to know more about our main character's name is Hornclaw. We don't even really get to know her true name, and she intentionally puts distance between her and the rest of the world because she wants to protect herself from vulnerabilities. So she's distant from everyone, but we also don't get to know not very much about her job. We don't get to know very much about her as a person. We're very focused on what's happening to her now and the things she's considering now. And even what we do get to learn feels very surface level. So it's not any deep connection between us and Hornclaw, or at least that's how I felt about it. And also, this is, like I said, very reflective, and I enjoy more of an action-based story. So for me, this got really long because I expected a story about an assassin to be a little more full of danger and action. And it was, like I said, much more reflective, much more considering of how Hornclaw is sort of viewing herself and her age, and how she is worried about death and the things she's considering, and how she is comparing herself to her younger self and younger assassins. Even though this sounded promising, it just didn't pay off for me and I didn't get along with it very much. Then the last thing I have here is Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. This is my first Olivia Atwater, and I read this as part of Cal and Brianna's book club, Boozy Book Club, that they're starting over on their channels. And I thought this was such a fun pick. I was excited to try this because I've wanted to try Olivia Atwater for a while. I've been hearing about her here and there. We are following Gadriel, who is the Angel of Petty Temptations, and they are a angel basically, but angels aren't quite the way you and I think of them. They are in a way, but they aren't. And Gadriel has a gambling problem and they have a debt to another angel. So technically Gadriel's a fallen angel and they are in debt to a non-fallen angel, a righteous angel. So they're trapped into trying to tempt one of the more virtuous people in the world to sin a little bit to make her life a little fun, and that's how we meet Holly Harker. Holly has had a rough few months. There's a lot going on in her life, and the reason she is so virtuous might be deeper than just her being virtuous and a good person. And this book wrecked me. After a month of kind of like hit and miss books, this book wrecked me, and it took me a while to read it because I haven't been reading very much physically, and this was a physical read, but I enjoyed it immensely. I found the vibes to be a mix between Good Omens and Gail Carriger, more of her newer stuff than some of her like Victorian age stuff. It was more like it's more the San Andreas Shifter series than the Soulless series vibes, but it's that mix of silly and serious and sort of a nonsensical but logical magic system that works out so well for me. I love this type of book because Gadriel is kind of running a bunch of different games in this story, and they're hoping that all of them will pan out, and they're hoping that they can absolve all of their debts by helping Holly Harker, but then their feelings get involved. So of course the feelings are what got me, and the kind of caring found family feelings are what got me, because that's what I love. And so I had a really good time with this. Was it my first 5 stars of the year? It might be, because I just absolutely adored this to pieces. I love the way the world is explained. I love the way the magic system's explained. I love the way we sort of just have this it's not too deep. Like, we are dealing with angels and devils and, you know, sin points and all this stuff, but it's not anything that's too complicated or too deep. It's sort of a surface level world, that the emotions and the characters and the plot pieces are a little more important than the world building, which I personally can like set aside and just enjoy what's happening with our characters, because that's for me why I'm in a book. This also had something that I enjoyed because it had footnotes that didn't drive me crazy. There were footnotes that were there for a reason, and they were very amusing. So overall, I just loved this book to pieces, and I can't wait to read more of Olivia Atwater. This was a absolute win for me. But those are all the books that I read in the second half of January. If you have any thoughts or feelings or want to share anything about what I talked about today, please let me know down below. You can also subscribe down there. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!